that teardrop over the backboard. That 3-pointer by Chet, Dort finally connecting from deep. Like we watched the whole game unfold in what felt like slowly averting disaster one at a time, and somehow chipped away. Down 8 minutes left. Down 7 minutes left. Down 6 minutes left, and we stole the lead, and we never relinquished once we had it. Um, man,
It's
Dig,
great.
we got 2 games to win, and we got 2 games in OKC. How you like that?
I just think this is exactly what this team needed to do. If you're and anybody looking at this situation right now with the Thunder, you're freaking out. I mean, let's just be honest. 90% of the Thunder fans were freaking out, and 100% of the Dallas fans were freaking out, excited. Like Oklahoma City's done. This series over. We're talking the last 3 minutes of the game, and I told Mark, I was like, this is obviously it's going to 7 games at this point, but like we needed to see this from this team in order to shut off the tap. We needed to see what this team could do when their backs up against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And what they were able to do is spectacular. And I'll say it 100 times is that you cannot win a championship without adversity, without turmoil and trial and tribulation. And that's what happened last night. We went through the shit to get to the point where we were able to win the game. And by all intents and purposes, looking at our way we shot the ball, like was so horrible. It was awful, but we were able to pull it off and excel in the places that we needed to do. So hell of a job by these guys.
Yeah, it was the grittiest win that I've seen since probably going back to that year we beat the Clippers in the playoffs. I think in 2014, 2015, maybe. Incredible run. I don't even know how to explain it other than Chris Paul had gone like 8 games in a row without a turnover, and Russ was able to get 3 in a row in the fourth quarter at the end of the game to somehow eke out a win, plus hit incredible shots. This was that level of classic game. It didn't have like the beauty of it aesthetically because of how mucked up the game was in the end, but you have to be able to win these gritty ones if you're going to be able to win a championship.
Yeah.
The NBA TNT crew, Shaq changed his pick. No longer thought the Thunder were going to win the series. They were all turning on us. You could feel, like you said, the fan base. But the one place that they never doubted or wavered, I think, was in that locker room. They knew what they had to get done. It's one thing if you gave that other team your best shot. It's another feeling if you don't feel like you've given them your best shot yet. And I think that's how they approached the second half. Like you said, started out with a third quarter, developing a defensive intensity, identity. Kenny Hustle coming in and physicaling up Lively and
getting in Washington's face.
Yeah, PJ. PJ went a little like mad, started yelling and stuff like that. And in the end, that
Kenny told him to simmer down.
Right. It seemed to be a little bit of a emotional element that actually benefited us there.
Very
I don't know
much
exactly.
So.
I mean, if we had lost the game, we would have said it didn't. But in the end, there was an emotional high point. We were talking about it live streaming during the game last night. It felt like maybe this game was about to get chippy. We always say familiarity breeds contempt. And now these teams are very familiar with each other. Do you think that this is going to lead to some 1990s style brawls?
Listen. Dallas is a team that doesn't like to be pushed around. If they feel like their backs up against the wall, they will try to do whatever it takes to even out that series. So, do I think that things could get worse? For sure, especially with Dort and Luka, because if you look at last night when the brawl, the pushing match happened with PJ and Kenny Hustle, at first I thought that Dort was yelling at the guys to like simmer down and stay together. But then I went back and rewatched it a few times, and I recognized that Dort and Luka are just chirping and yelling at each other. Like this is going to get worse. Like Luke is getting 4 to 5 fouls, 6 fouls a game right now. That's what he's averaging, or Dort is, because he is constantly in Luka's face. Like Dort's fouls on Luka aren't soft. They're very hard. They're very calculated. They're very like difficult fouls for normal people around to handle. And Luka is big, so that makes a huge difference. And you know, Unk is on here. He's talking right now, and I want to, address it. Like, Unk, you were not the only person that wrote me saying that you stopped watching the game in the third quarter. I had about 10 to 12 people write me that were like, let me know if the game gets closer. All right. And of course, I'm not writing anybody that writes me that. Like, if you write me, motherfuckers, and saying, write me when the game gets closer, like, dude, you've already lost. I mean, this is not Miami. I'm not going to call you back in the room once we get it close again. So that's on you for not coming back and watching it. I appreciate you, Unk, for not saying, call me or text message me when it gets close or if it gets close again. You kept us on the radio, which I appreciate. So, but again, it just goes back to how we were able to, discipline these guys. Now, I want to get to Josh Giddey, man. And I know a lot of people want to talk about Josh Giddey right now, and I've got some great thoughts about that. But before we go to Josh Giddey, how do you feel like Kaysen played defense on Luka and on Kyrie today or last night?
Oh yeah, Kaysen was everywhere. You can't really understate how valuable a player like he is, who can be a versatile defender. Like that's the most important thing, and then not be an offensive liability. That's the second thing. But then to come out and be an offensive productivity, like he's passing the ball great, he's knocking down shots, he's moving, inside the perimeter through cuts and things like that. Well, yeah, I would say there's times where the moment seems like he's like a little bit like in shock of how intense the game is almost, but then he responds with this calmness that usually isn't the right move. I guess might be, but it's just he never really feels out of it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's playing, in home, in Dallas, that's really helping him. Maybe he would be like this in any environment, but right here, right now, and it's a game like this, you can't say we would win without a guy like Kaysen out there. Um, you know, every single champion needs their stars to play like stars, and they need role players to be stars in their roles. You can't go on to win a conference championship without that happening. And sometimes the people that step up aren't the people you think. And sometimes you'll get a little like glitter in that a flash in the pan, and you'll think, hey, is that gold? And then you realize it's PJ Washington. And, it's just like one of those games, like you're never sure exactly what's real and what's not until you look back after the series and you're like, shit, man, like this is like, I can tell you though, with a guy like Kaysen, that's real gold.
Yeah.
That is not any fool's gold. That is real gold. You don't step up this young in those types of minutes. I mean, you don't do that. Like that's if you go back to what made Shea so clearly on a trajectory for greatness his rookie year. Some people would say it wasn't clear, but if you were paying attention, it was moments like this, that first round series they had against the Warriors when he was with the Clippers, where every single thing he does seems like the right move. It doesn't mean it's always successful, but it's understanding where the defense is. Is it an extra pass that will break their back? Is it knocking down the shot? Is it a ball fake and a drive? It doesn't always mean going out there and scoring. It's more about reading and reacting and trusting your instincts. You hear Shea say it all the time. You trust your work. You go out there and you just play and you trust your work. And that, man, that shot, dude, the instincts and Kaysen and coach's guts for going for him. Like we weren't knocking down shots, but then all of a sudden we got a couple. I mean, this is why we call ourselves Oklahoma City Thunder fans, because this team represents the city in a way that is amazing. Like, okay, so we're down, but we're not out. But everybody thinks we're out. Everybody's shifting. We have all the fair weather fans saying, oh, this is it. This is done. They're done. They're done. But then here comes Shea leading these guys. And this is why we don't care that we're young.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't care that some people say we can't do it because we're inexperienced. We're right here. We're ready right now. And we're going to prove it. And we're going to prove it because honestly, the Mavs are all right, whatever. They're not, you can't make a trade at a trade deadline and expect that to automatically lead to a conference championship. And they did it last year. They're doing it again. They're not as good as everybody thinks. Give them a couple years to gel, maybe a couple more pieces, and they'll be where we are, but they're not there yet.
Yeah. All right, man. Before I go, Josh Giddey again, one more question for you. Lou Dort had a phenomenal night. He had 8 rebounds, 3 offensive. He had 17 points, 1 block. He was 6 for 6 at the free throw line. But he shot 3 for 10, 30% from 3-point line. 2 of his threes were massive threes that we needed to get the game close. Do we want to see Dort continue shooting this volume of this amount of threes every game, knowing that one day he will hit 7 or 8 for 10?
I don't see how you have him stop when he hits the biggest ones of the game. I don't want to say like, hey, go ahead and miss 7 shots in a row. But if you're going to miss 7 shots in a row, please hit the big 3 or hit the next 2 that we need. Like, that's where I'm feeling like with Dort right now.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen him step up big in game 7s before. We know that this guy is a baller. We need him to shoot the ball confidently. But there's something that Dallas was doing early, and I'm not exactly sure why his looks were cleaner and what our counter was. I'd have to watch the game back and see. But Dort was finding those baseline threes. He was finding open looks, and those looks were significantly different than the looks where he was on the wing and he was getting a flyby, putting the ball on the ground, and sometimes even getting it blocked, because the flybys that Dallas are doing, they're not selling out. So they're actually like recovering and then blocking the ball from behind quite regularly. I say it all the time when we're watching the game, but the way that they can defend the basket and sell out on that, and then sell out on defending the perimeter, it's amazing, because I haven't seen many teams do that throughout the course of this year.
Sure.
A team like the Wolves, they've actually been pretty good at that all year.
Yeah.
But the Mavericks suddenly becoming one of those teams is a bit of a surprise. But that also speaks to the tightness and the physicality of a playoff game. So there's a lot of factors that come into play right now. But the reality is, Dave, we were talking about this last night. Like, you're not going to win a championship without these types of adversities and overcoming them. So even if we had lost and we were down 3-1, I would still feel like we're a 3-game win streak away from taking this series. And if we can grow to 7, if we can win this, if we can go to 6 and win it, if we do it now, these types of adversities will matter, because say we somehow swept the Mavs, we would not be ready for what's going to come next. Like the Nuggets, the Timberwolves, they're going to come in battle tested, amped up, go from game 1. And that's what we need to be ready for. And this is giving us an idea of the physicality, the toughness, the whistle. This is it's a painful game, dude. It's a painful. It reminds me of some sort of like form of torture. When it also reminds me of the 90s, when the scores were always in the 90s, and 80s, and it's like, wow, this is how we're gonna hit it. This is how we're gonna finish the game. And then all of a sudden, you got some sweet shot making from a guy like Shea, Chet, Dort, and you're like, all right, maybe we can get this going now. Maybe we come back to Oklahoma City. Maybe we can turn the series on its heels, and we can put the Mavericks in a spot where we just need to win 1 or 2, maybe go finish them off in Dallas. I don't know. Like, that's how I'm feeling.
Yeah. Well, it's all about breaking their backs right now, because we just kicked them when they're down. Now it's about finishing them. And that's what this comes down to the next game. In order for us to do that, though, we need to see a better play out of Josh. And I'll be honest with you, right now, I'm not being hard on Josh. I'm not being difficult on Josh. What's happening with Josh is the Mavericks know how to play Josh. They know how to play our offense when Josh is in the game. And that's really due to Jason Kidd being a very similar passer to Josh was when he was in the game. Like, he knows how to get the ball across half court, get the ball up the court. He does all these things. So what Coach Kidd does, is that he is doing everything he can to stop Josh, knowing that our offense is not at its best when Josh is not in the game. So how does he do that? On defense, what he does is he sticks either Gafford or Lively on him.
Yeah.
Derek Lively on him.
Blake Lively, the actress.
Yeah, the actress. And it's on him like glue. Now, our offense, we like to get Josh the ball in the middle of the court, whether that's the middle high post, whether that's the middle of the 3-point line. We want to get Josh the ball there. Well, when Gafford is in this like defensive set where he can stop Josh when he gets the ball, make him pick up the dribble, right? Or drop back and play that zone for defense, And then what you're seeing is when we're taking Josh and putting him on baseline, guess what we're doing? We're clogging up the middle by playing a straight up zone, 2-3 zone, like something you don't see a lot in the NBA. It's all dependent on Josh being in the game. And for 12 minutes last night when he played, It was all about we're trying to get that mismatch with Josh in the game. So how do we get Josh out of the game as quickly as possible? And that is what Coach Kidd is trying to do. And if Josh isn't able to pick this up at this very moment, that's okay. That is okay because it just needs time. Josh needs to figure out how to be effective and successful against Dallas, right? Now we're playing against Dallas today, but tomorrow, the next day, it could be somebody else. So Josh is about his game and moving it and changing it and dwarfing it and making it into something that can go across all teams. But this takes time. And I'm not in a hurry when that happens. And when Josh has to play defense, they're switching. They're making the switches.
Hey, he wants to say hi to you. He has something, a puzzle piece of a state in his hand. What is that, Mark?
Hey, Mark.
What is that? It says Hawaii.
Hawaii.
Is that for Uncle Dave? You know that Uncle Dave's going to be in Hawaii?
Yeah. You going to come visit me?
Go Thunder.
Thunder.
Yeah, Thunder. Go Thunder.
Thunder.
Dun, dun.
I said, love you. Dude, how about the fans showing up in mass at 1:30 last night as the team came in? What a fucking great thing, dude.
I didn't see it, man. I didn't get to bed until 1:30 my time, but oh wow.
Yeah, dude. So they went to the airport and everything, did that whole thing, but amazing situation, dude. But yeah, dude, let's get back to what you were saying about Giddey, because I think that's the good stuff right now. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's the defensive when they're playing defense on Josh, it's that zone and it's that Gafford in the middle that's clogging everything up. When Josh is on offense, right? We're going up with the switches, okay? And what they're doing to Josh is, when Josh is on defense, they're going for the switches. They're trying to put Josh on a smaller guy. I see Josh and the switch happens and there he is on Kyrie. Listen, I love Josh, but Josh against Kyrie is a mismatch every single day. And this is not a diss on Josh. It's because Kyrie is 32 years old. He's 11 years older. He has one of the best handles, if not the best handles in the league. That is a mismatch. That's why we want Case and Wallace. That's why we want, these other guys playing against him. So when that switch happens, it's a mismatch, and it's getting these other guys. And then you're seeing guys like PJ Washington get that switch, right? And they fade out to the corner, and somebody gets lost, and it just happens over and over and over again. So I'm looking at it like this: is that coach is saying, now I need to find guys that can play together that are comparative. So if you look at the minutes last night, let's get into that. You've got 40 minutes for Chet, 41 for J-Dub, 42 for Shea, 40 for Dort, right? 12 for Josh Giddey. And then coming off our bench, we have 19 for Wallace. We have 15 for Isaiah Joe, 13 for Wiggins, and Jay Will has 10. What does that tell you? It tells you that coach is trying everything for the mismatches, for the advantage. And the second he can find those advantages, he's letting it run. That's not a diss on Josh. This is not a, Josh, you got to get better or you're off the team. This is a simple, Josh has got to learn how to be effective in the defense and the offensive sets that Dallas is allowing him to have. And if he can't be effective, if he can't find a way to be effective in that set, then guess what? Case and Wallace is playing fucking amazing. Isaiah Joe's hitting some shots, Aaron Wiggins is doing some great things, there's more guys that are ready to step up right now.
Those guys are playing big. And it is frustrating. I know we have a lot of Giddey fans, a lot of people who want to see him be successful, and we're with you. We do too. But at the same time, when a team sells out on a strategy, putting Lively or Gafford on Giddey and creating essentially a more clogged up lane and still able to defend the 3-point line because of the way that they're switching to a zone on the perimeter. It's, you've got to adjust. The only thing you can't do, and this is one of the things I'd be most critical of former Thunder coaches, is say we're not going to adjust. The pressure's on you. What do you do?
Exactly.
We saw non-offensive options in the Thunder sometimes hold us back in large playoff series, even maybe going all the way to the NBA Finals. That type of stuff without adjustment can leave you
Sammy Dope OSU
looking back being like, what the fuck do we need to do better? Well, sometimes just having a coach who's willing to experiment with different lineup changes. And I get it. If your favorite player is sitting on the bench during the biggest moments of the game, it can really leave you being like, this coach doesn't quite get it. But at the same time, if everybody is completely bought in to understanding that there's no ego, right? We're all in this for the team and giving the team the best chance to win. And everybody wants to be out there playing. But if coach says, I think the best chance for the team to win is run that other guy out there right now, like, as long as you don't ever start feeling sorry for yourself in that moment,
Tobias,
you can actually use that moment to progress your career.
Yeah.
And Josh's career is going to have to be an evaluation of what people are doing to exploit his weaknesses and how he can counter that. And this is just at the highest level that we've ever experienced as a team. You can't come back and say, okay, he hit this challenge. Now we're done. Like, that just shows like a different level of not being prepared for this moment. We're all in a moment that is seemingly as big as we've ever experienced. But in the end, it's just a game. There's 48 minutes.
Josh got subbed in to the game at the end of the game.
He did.
These the last 3 times, last 20 seconds, 27 seconds or something like that. And the reason is that he needed to throw the ball in balance. If coach didn't trust him, if coach didn't feel that he was ready, right, he wouldn't put it in his hands at that point. Okay. My point about that is this a matchup issue or is this a Josh Giddey issue? And it goes back to what I've been saying all along. This is a matchup issue. It has nothing to do with Josh Giddey and anything else. Like Josh Giddey, in this situation, the matchup isn't the way we're going. We, as a team, are incredibly gifted because we have the ability to go different directions. Next series that we play, you could see Josh Giddey averaging 25 points a game, Case and Wallace, Lou Dort not being as effective.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh looks like an all-star out there. And that's the difference about when teams are playing. They're saying, Josh Giddey gets the ball, he's going to dominate us. So what does Jason Kidd do? He shuts that shit off. When Josh Giddey goes in the game, he goes to his bench and pulls the guys out that he wants out there to guard Josh Giddey. It's the way it goes. So what does Coach D do? Well, if you're going to do that to me with Josh Giddey, I'm going to sit Josh Giddey because I know he's not going to care about this right now. So we need to let Josh Giddey learn the system that he needs to be against Dallas because this is just one team. He dominated the Pelicans. This is not that. Like, next game we play, coach is going to go out there and say, Josh, this is what we need to do. If it works, guess what? Josh stays in the game, puts up 20 points, has a great shooting night. If it doesn't work, Josh has 12, 15 minutes again. Because guess what? Coach is experimenting right now. He's trying every single aspect. He's trying every single, put this player here, put this player in this position. Isaiah Joe, we want him and Jay Will and Shea. And, we want all these guys on the same court at the same exact time. And then also we go on a run. And then Dallas makes substitutions. They go on a run. But it's the last 5 minutes of the game that we see that coach gets to go with the lineup that's working the best. And the last 5 minutes of the game is exactly where we cut everything off this last time. Every single time we win games, it's what we do the best is cutting that shit out. And so for me, I'm saying just relax, Josh. Realize that your number's going to get called every single game because we're going to need you. We're going to need you throwing the ball in balance. We're going to need you throwing the ball in baseline. We're going to need you to get the ball and rebounds and get the ball up court. And if it's not working for you, it's not fucking working. And that's okay. That's why you got brothers on the team.
That's right, man. Next man up and trusting your teammates and be excited for them. This was a gutsy win, as gutsy as we've seen. And we're going to need another one. This is going to be a really big challenge in Oklahoma City. I'm hoping the fans will treat it like an elimination game because if it's done right, we may not get to see the Thunder and the Mavericks again in Oklahoma City until next year. Win in 5, finish this off in 6, bro. That's how I see it. Why not? I get it. This is going to take a hell of an effort, but I think we actually, with our first good offensive game in the last few coming up. I think we could make this like Dallas is on the brink going back to Dallas, which would be what a wild roller coaster that would really be. Man, what an experience.
43 minutes they dominated us.
Yeah.
43 minutes. Like, we would go on a run, they would go on a run. We would go on a run, they would go on a run. Like 43 minutes of just watching this team beat us up. To watch the last 5 minutes to say, we're not fucking done. We don't want to go down 3-1. We don't want our backs up against the wall like that. The fight was there. Like, this is in every aspect. We talked about putting your back up against the wall with Sun Tzu last night during our live. Like, that's exactly what happened last night. Coach D told the guys, like, listen, man, you guys are back against the wall. Like, you lose this game, you're going down in a pit that you guys can't get out of. We've got to win this game. We've got to want this more than them. We got to find a way to hit some of these shots that we're missing. We've got to find the focus. Coach was able to break through. We were able to break through and get that win last night, even though for all intents and purposes that we should not have won that game.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're sitting back. We just stole one from Dallas. Now we got to go back to Oklahoma City, and we got to show them what it is to be in Oklahoma City, what it is to be in Loud City. Because what happened in Dallas, man, was Luka gets in the microphone and says, the fans in Oklahoma City are bothering me. And all of Dallas showed up in a crazy, insane way. Now we're going back to Oklahoma City. I'm telling you this. Shay's at the microphone saying, guys, I need you there. I need you in the stadium. I need you to be loud. I need you to be obnoxious. I need the support now. So that's my challenge to you guys. Find a way to get to the game. Find a way to make your voice heard. Go to the game, and no voice left is the best way of going. We love you guys.
Thunder up, baby.